Thank you. 3 days. ఇన్ని కూడా You understand Telugu, Prabhu?
No. So what?
He's telling only for 3 days. They said Gaurav Prabhu is coming for 14 days. Morning it's take Prabhuji upstairs. Take Prabhuji to upstairs.
అదే అని చెప్తే నేనే వెయిట్ చేస్తున్నాను ఆయన
అందులో ఒక క్లాస్లో వాటర్
అవసరమా ఏంటి సరే ఓకే రవాణా
ఎంతమంది లేదు
ఒకటి నుండి వచ్చేవాళ్ళు అందరూ వచ్చాను కాబట్టి జరిగే స్టార్ట్ అయ్యేది ఒకటిపల్లి బాచిపల్లి నిజాంపేట ఆ ఒకటి నుండి దూరం ఉంటుంది
ट्रैफिक जाम Guru Kripa Kuri.
কিভাবে বুঝালে তারা বুঝেছে এই রস এটা কৃপা করো
भागवतेर कथा से भागवतेर कथा से तबावतारा भागवतेर कथा से तबावतारा धीरा जस्ता मोहते गले पाइबे हृदयेरा भद्रा सते बुझिबे ताहारा
हृदयेरा भद्र सते बुझिबे ताहारा
की कोरे बुझाबो कथा भरोसे चाही
की कोरे बुझाबो कथा भरोसे चाही
क्षत्रामी दिनाहीना कोनो शक्ति नहीं
शूद्रामि दीनहीन कोनो शक्ति नहीं
जाए ने छो प्रभु कथा बोली मारी
कथा जाए ने छो प्रभु कथा बोली मारे
जे तुम्हारा इच्छा प्रभु कोरुरी बारे जे तुम्हारा इच्छा प्रभु
कोरुरी बारे
अखिला जगत गुरु वचन से अमर
अखिला जगत गुरु वचन से अमर
अलंकृता कोरी बार क्षमता तुम्हारा
अलंकृत कोई बार क्षमता तुम्हारा
तब कृपा होले मोरा कथा शुद्ध हवे
तब कृपा ले मोरा कथा शुद्ध हवे
शुनिया सबर शोक दुख जे गुचिबे
सुनिया सार शोक दुख जे घुचिबे
आनिया छो जदि प्रभु आमारे नाचते
आनिया छो जदि प्रभु हमारे न चाहते
नाचाओ नाचाओ प्रभु नाचाओ से मते
नचाओ नचाओ प्रभु नचाओ से मते
काष्ठेरा पुतली जथा नाचाओ से मते
काष्ठेर पुतली ता नचाओ से मते
भक्ति नाई वेदानाई नामे खूब दरो
भक्ति नाही वेद नाही नामे खूब डरो
भक्ति वेदांत नामाय बे साधना करो
भक्ति वेदांत नाम हे सार्थक करो
भक्ति करो
भक्ति वेदांत नाम ये भी सार्थक करो. Thank you. ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने. नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can serve you with humility and confidence. Hare Krishna. So today is the last session we'll take on these prayers. So I'll just quickly go over the journey that we have gone through. And then, so basically we had 4 sessions. In the first session I introduced the prayers and we especially talked about how Prabhupada is not complaining that he has no facility. He is rather grateful that he has opportunity. And that positive attitude, so that brought 4 themes that we discussed here. The fourth is going to discuss today. So, in the first section, I talked about how we need to have an attitude of positivity, that whatever is happening, that we look for what is the good or what is there and not what is bad, not what is lacking. So Prabhupada was looking for that the fact that he at least has the opportunity to spread Krishna Bhakti, even if he does not have any facility. So look for what is good, not what is bad. That's the first session. And then in the second session, I focused on talking about how difficult it is to reach out to people. So I talked about the obstacle in terms of the modes. That are the modes good or bad? We talked about the modes in functional terms and in moral terms. And then there we talked about how the real problem Prabhupada says is because of infatuation with the modes, people will be completely spiritually disinclined. So based on 7.15, 4 kinds of people, he said who do not come. So they are those who are disinclined. And in the disinclined, we talked about 4 kinds of people. One at 4 different levels. So if this is the world, and that's Krishna, above this Krishna. So some people are just they are just spiritually uninterested because they are spiritually unthinking. Then there are people who are materially entangled. Then there are people who are intellectually seeking substitutes for Krishna. And then there are people who are against Krishna itself explicitly. They're out to destroy Krishna. The 4th category is the most difficult. So then we yesterday talked about how when people come to Krishna, when people come to Krishna, we need to be able to have a broad vision. And this was based on 7.16. That people, the 2 kinds of people, I am not good enough for the world and the world is not good enough for me. So within that, those who become spiritually inclined, say this is the world, they look back because I not good enough, that is Artho and Jigyasu, or Artho and Artharthi. And the Jnani is, the world is not good enough. So basically then we discussed broadly the 3 approaches to outreach. So then you remember the 3 approaches?
Rejection.
Yes, rejection, complementation, improvement. So rejection is the world is temporary, get out of it and come to Krishna. Complementation is, yeah, material life is important, but spiritual life is also important. Both are together. And improvement is where your practice spirituality because it will improve your material life. So we could say in the first generation, ISKCON was mostly here. It was mostly there were full-time devotees. And the second generation, we are mostly here. We could say that the majority is here. And whether we have a small minority which is at the improvement level, but we're not really focused on that. Now today, so I said that broadly, the idea is that when we are approaching the world, the resources we have, we need to look at them positively. The people we have, so the first session focused on the resources that we have, look at what we have rather than what we lack. Then how to look at people positively, that is what the focus of the second and third session was. But today we'll focus on self. How we can look at ourselves positively. What is our vision of ourselves? So broadly, any kind of outreach is foundationally based on a positive attitude. What is that positive attitude? Positive attitude is that people can change. Positive attitude is that I can change and I can be an instrument of change for others. And even in the world, you may say this is Kali Yuga, this is such a difficult place. It is all true. But ultimately, Kali Yuga is not the highest reality. Maya Dakshina Prakriti is the highest reality. So even Kali Yuga is under Krishna's jurisdiction. And ultimately, the world is meant to bring people to Krishna. So in that sense, no kind of outreach. It's like medicine, if you consider. Prabhupada often compared spirituality to starting a hospital, that we have Bhavaroga. Now, medicine has to be fundamentally a positive activity. That people can be healed. That, yes, people are sick and some people will die and we can't prevent that. But overall, people can be healed. Without that positive attitude, there's no point in working. Now, if somebody is working in a hospital, they can complain, oh, this hospital doesn't have this machine, this hospital has corruption over here, this person has that. But if you are too negative, you just cannot work, isn't it? So if we outreach, if we consider that to be like treatment, medical treatment, then this is the metaphor which I'm explaining how I'm approaching this book. See, I see this particular book as an inspiration for outreach, because Prabhupada's prayer is for outreach. So in that sense, if you look at medical treatment, and both are basically, you cannot do this without a positive attitude. The positive attitude doesn't come by being blind to the negative, because especially in a hospital, you see the negative all the time. And in one sense, when we start engaging in spirituality, ourselves we are told, dukkha doshanu darshanam. Look at how there is so much distress in the world. And most people come to spirituality because they are in distress. And they will tell their distress to us. So in that sense, this positive attitude is not by being blind to the negative. In fact, there is a whole thing that you should see that it is not by being blind to the negative. It is basically like being open to something beyond the negative. Yes, you are sick and that's a terrible reality, but there is a life beyond sickness. There is the possibility of health. And paradoxically, the more seriously a person takes the disease, to that extent, the more seriously they can take the treatment, isn't it? But the focus has to be on the treatment, not on the disease. So sometimes in bhakti, what may happen is that we may focus so much on the disease that we ourselves become filled with negativity. So if you consider at one level the medical treatment, the hospital. So the hospital is like the world. So in the first session, we discussed how we have to have a positive attitude towards the world. Then the biggest thing in the hospital, the patients. Now broadly, some patients can be unwilling. They have come there because their relatives forced them. They came there because maybe the office told them, we'll fire you unless you take some treatment or whatever. Or they're willing. So like that, we discuss 7.15 is those who come are unwilling, 7.16 is those who are willing. Now we can say those people are unwilling, they don't even come to the hospital. That's true, but they are a part of the world. And sometimes we may interact with them. So how we look at them, so here the positivity was, give them time. We don't have to give them our time, but give them time. That means don't close the door on them. That let them wait, let them process it. And then here we talk about the right approach. Which is the approach that will resonate with them. If somebody has come with the approach of complementation and we give them rejection, they won't be able to take it. So the positive attitude towards the patients. And then the last is the doctor has to have a positive attitude towards oneself. That I can treat. Now similarly, we can say the devotee who is trying to do service. I said I don't like the word preacher, but I still have enough respect for the English language. I don't want to introduce the word outreacher. So it's not an actual word, but it may become an actual word. So let's say the devotee who is trying to share Krishna Bhakti. So here today's session will be how we need to have a positive attitude towards ourselves. That I can make a difference. So let's look at what Prabhupada is saying. Bhakti Vedanta Nama Ebe Sarthaka Koro. My dear, so you please, what is happening? Okay, this is, so now make the name Bhakti Vedanta shine, fulfilling its purpose by your will divine. So let us start with the prayer. My dear Lord, let your trust in me, lift my trust in me. So who would like to read? Anyway, yeah. Sorry.
My dear Lord,
Sorry. This coming.
Srila Prabhupada reveals how he views the title Bhakti Vedanta, not as an entitlement or a recognition of what he has achieved, but as an encouragement, responsibility to rise up to. Bless me to see the gifts I received with similar gratitude and gratitude.
Yes. So during Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's time, in general in the Gaudiya Math, there was this convention of giving titles to devotees. So many of Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur's disciples had various titles. And now Bhakti Vedanta was a title that was given by Prabhupada's godbrothers to him. And then Prabhupada himself was a title given by Prabhupada's disciples to him. And in the first generation, there were many titles like Vishnupad and Bhagavad and other titles where there are Acharyapad. But now generally in the first generation itself, its devotees are, it's not generally encouraged. Because it can go to people's head, and so we appreciate and glorify devotees. But so this is a title that was given to him. And now a title can lead to a sense of entitlement, that I deserve this because I have this title. Or it can be a sense of encouragement, that okay, you have this potential and I have this potential, let me develop it. So I'll talk about 3 things today, depending on how much time we have, that how humility can be misunderstood or misapplied, and how that can lead to negativity. And then how the bhakti itself, devotion, can be misunderstood. And then within that, how guilt can be misunderstood. So let's start first with humility. That humility in itself is not denial of ability. That somebody has some ability and they say, I don't have that ability. That is not humility. Why is that not humility? Because the point of humility at one level is to not be self-conscious. So self-consciousness can, this is the self. So self-consciousness has 2 sides. One is that I am so wonderful. I am so wonderful, I am so great, I am so glorious. The only problem in my life is people don't understand how wonderful I am. So we could say this is ego. That is one kind of self-consciousness. So as soon as I come to a place, the only thing I notice is how many people bow down to me, how many people notice me and are respectful to me. So now that level of self-consciousness is unhealthy. But the other side of the coin is, I am so dreadful. I am so worthless. I am good for nothing. I am such a terrible person that if I come to the temple, the whole temple will get contaminated. So I don't want to come here at all. So both are forms of self-consciousness. And essentially humility is that we come out of that self-consciousness. That there is a purpose to my life that is bigger than me. So we become more conscious of that. And ultimately we become conscious of Krishna. So now for us humility is the launching pad to be able to focus our consciousness on Krishna. So self-consciousness can become an obstacle to Krishna consciousness. If I am constantly focused on if I am sitting on a class and how many people respect me, how many people don't respect me, then what is going to happen? I won't be able to serve properly. So in that sense, self-consciousness can be an obstacle to Krishna consciousness. So once my consciousness is free to move towards Krishna, so without that self-consciousness. Now self-consciousness, the word can have different meanings. It is not being conscious of the self. It's more being like fixated in the self. Like say if I am speaking right now, if I am very self-conscious, I'll think, okay, how am I moving my hand? How am I speaking? And what are you going to think about me when I'm speaking like this? When I'm moving my hand like this? When I'm saying this point? So if I'm constantly worried about how people are perceiving me, and that's all that fills my mind, that can be a problem. Now self-consciousness, we don't have self-consciousness in the sense that our consciousness is not getting locked in the self. So then we are free to focus on Krishna. At the same time, once we are going to focus on Krishna, at that time, it's important that we utilize the gifts that we have been given. So if I am Krishna conscious and I am denying the ability that I have, then basically that ability has been given to be my Krishna. And if I deny or downplay that ability, then in one way, I am not being Krishna conscious. Because say if a parent has given something of value to the child, and the child doesn't pay attention to that, whatever gift has been given of value, then what happens? Then that is not healthy. So denial of ability is not humility. Actually, we need to acknowledge our ability. So one extreme, let's put in that of a pendulum over here, that humility frees our consciousness. So humility is at one level, we go to denying ability. Then if I do not acknowledge my ability, I do not develop my ability, then eventually I'm not doing service to Krishna and I'll end up with insecurity. But the other extreme would be denying the source of my ability. The source of my ability is Krishna. So if we deny that, then that will lead us to ego. And I am so great. And that if I deny my ability, then I have nothing, I can do nothing. So a healthy attitude towards humility is that on one side, I acknowledge my ability. I not only acknowledge it, but I also utilize it, I separate it, and I acknowledge the source of the ability. So that way, our humility should not steal away, our ability should not steal away our humility. But at the same time, our humility should not steal away our awareness of our ability. So if somebody can sing nicely, somebody can speak well, somebody can manage well, and in the name of humility, I don't want to become proud, so I won't do this service. Now that is a very limiting understanding of Krishna consciousness. Why? Because the purpose of life is not to protect ourselves from pride. The purpose of life is to love Krishna. And loving Krishna is expressed through our actions. So if we have certain gifts, using those gifts is important. Now what may happen is that whenever we have some ability, but we, in the name of humility, start downplaying it, then even if we achieve something, and then you say, oh, it is all Krishna's mercy. Yes, it is Krishna's mercy, but there is our endeavor also. So if we start discounting the positive, that whatever we have achieved, whatever has worked out in our life, so that if we start discounting the positive, then that can lead us, so whatever good has happened, in the name that it is Krishna's mercy, we downplay it. Then is it enhancing our Krishna consciousness? What happens is, oh, this happened. But then we become much more aware of our own negativities. I can't do this, I didn't do this well, I made this mistake, I didn't meet the standard. And then on one side, our ability, which could have given us some positive emotion, we neglect that, we downplay that. And then whatever is our inability could be in terms of skill, inability could be in terms of values, we fixate on that. And then that can lead to an overall negative attitude, which is not at all healthy. So, for us, this source of negativity, so Prabhupada is acknowledging. Prabhupada didn't say when he was given the title Bhakti Vedanta, oh, I'm so fallen, I can't accept this title. No, Prabhupada accepted it, but he's saying, Krishna, ebe nama sarthak karu. You can make it fulfill. He's not saying, I'm already Bhakti Vedanta, you make it meaningful by enabling me, by using me as an instrument to fulfill your mission. So, like some devotees, I don't know how often it happens, but I remember in the early years, or in the first decade of Krishna consciousness, there are two devotees who came to Pune, and both of them said, I'm so fallen, I cannot sit on the Vyasasana. They gave the Bhagavatam class sitting on the floor. Now the only thing that happened was that everybody had to crane their necks to look at them. So isn't it? So, what is the point of making life more inconvenient for others in the name of your humility? Isn't it? So now sometimes Krishna can inspire different people in different ways, and they may feel that way, and you can respect the sentiment. But is that a standard or a desired expression of humility? Expression of humility? No. If our focus is on the service, how best can I do the service? And we accept the facilities that are there, we develop the abilities that we have for that. So acknowledging our ability, so we approach this with, at one sense, gratitude and gravity. What is the gravity part? The gratitude part is this, I have this ability. The gravity part is, this is the ability that has been given to me by Krishna. I have a devotee friend, very prominent preacher, and he's got currently very severe throat problems. And he's been told, he's been speaking so many times, speaking for so long and so much, that now he's been told he cannot give any classes for at least the next 1 year. Now, I was talking with him, and he's one of the most prominent preachers in our movement, the second generation. So I was telling him how is he managing it. So he's saying that initially, first few days, it was very difficult, but I was trying to absorb myself in Shastra. But he says now, right, whenever I was studying Shastra, it was primarily to look for points that I could speak. So now, when that purpose is gone, I have two choices. Either what is the point of studying Shastra? Or the point of studying Shastra is to immerse myself in Krishna. Slowly I'm trying to come towards that. So the thing is that our ability can go away from us at any moment. And that's why that gravity is important. This is the gift that Krishna has given me, let me use it in Krishna's service. So gratitude and gravity both are there. So we acknowledge our ability and we acknowledge the source of our ability. That way we will have, so generally how does positivity come? See, the world is so big and we are so small. Quite often we may feel, what difference can I make? Like in a hospital, there is a huge hospital, there are 500 doctors. There are 10,000 patients in the hospital, like multi-speciality hospital. Now one doctor may think, what can I do? Well, no, if you are there, you can do some things. Now to make a difference, if in a hospital a patient treats even one, in a doctor treats even one patient, that is making a difference. So some other doctor might be so famous and so competent that in one day they treat 50 patients. Another doctor might treat only 5 patients. But that's okay. So we need to be able to see our ability positively and see that the ability has been given to me It's a gift and it's meant for a purpose. So one vision, like one of the most universal visions of bhakti we can say is that when we are in the world, that what we have is Krishna's gift to us. And what we do with what we have is our gift to Krishna. So, gift yataha pravrittir bhutanam yena sarvam idam tatam swakarmana tam abhyarcha siddhim vindati manava. So now for me to be able to do this, I have to acknowledge that I have these gifts. So in that sense, that's the fundamental positive attitude that everyone has some ability. And whatever we have, we acknowledge that, we appreciate that. And each one of us has abilities. So humility should not lead to the denial of the positive or the downplaying of the positive. Like humility needs to bring more into than the front light, the source of that ability, but not denial of the ability. So I was in Pune and once Chandramouli Maharaj had come there, and after the I was doing the translation for the class, and then after the class somebody asked a question, and while answering the question Maharaj forgot to actually stop for translation, and he went on for around 15 minutes continuously. And then after the class answer got over, he remembered and he looked at me. So then I tried to remember as much I could. Like Krishna's mercy, I have a good short-term memory. That's how I'm able to, at the end of a class, I can summarize most of the class. So after 1 year, I may not even remember a single point from the class, even if I have spoken it. But at least I have good short-term memory. So then Maharaj looked at me, the audience started laughing. And I started repeating the translation. And I spoke for around 15 minutes. And I repeated almost all the points. And then everybody applauded. So there was a senior devotee over there in the class. After that he said, it was remarkable, you remembered everything. And then I said, make this a habit, it's Krishna's mercy. And he said, and if you remember that, that is Krishna's greater mercy. So actually if you remember that, we can say my ability is Krishna's mercy, but to deeply feel that this is actually Krishna's mercy, that is the greater mercy of Krishna. So for all of us, this is the first part, that we acknowledge our ability and we acknowledge the source of our ability. Let's move to the next part. Who would like to read?
Most supremely generous Lord, among the many gifts you have given me, the most precious is opportunity to share your message and your love with others. In your divine generosity, you do not fixate on the conditionings that bind me. You see beyond me, to my core, to my soul, where the potential to transcend those conditions resides.
Yes. So now, when we are practicing bhakti, so one is a misunderstanding of humility. The other is a misunderstanding of our conditionings. So like earlier I said, remember I mentioned about I am a fallen soul. Now what happens when we say I am a fallen soul? Sometimes the fallen becomes so big that the soul is forgotten. So it becomes what we remember is I am fallen. And that fallen is also a temporary conditioning. And if you over-identify with that conditioning, then it can become a problem. So ultimately, sarvopadhi vinirmuktam. That we need to vinirmuktam. We have to become free from whatever conditionings we have. So when we are trying to practice bhakti, so because of our conditionings, there are some things which we may not be able to do. Because of that, we may feel bad. And now abilities are one thing, but conditionings go a little deeper for us. They are more about, say, anger or greed or lust or whatever. So at that time, how do we look at it positively? So if I go back to the treatment metaphor, now if some disease is chronic, it is going to take time for it to be cured. So now in some areas, I may experience improvement. Maybe, okay, my energy level has improved, but still maybe my complexion is still not so bright, my digestion is not so good, or the pain is still there in the body. So there is some level of improvement and there are some areas of no improvement. Or if not no, then at least low improvement. So now for us, it's important that we focus on where the improvement is there. Now, we need to be aware of where the improvement is not there, but the focus needs to be on where the improvement is. That's what will give us the confidence that the treatment works, and that's what will give us the confidence to share the treatment with others. So, what that means is, in our life also, we have many conditionings. And some conditionings we have been able to work on and improve. They are decreased. Some conditionings, they may not have decreased. Sometimes we feel some conditioning may have increased also. So generally for most devotees, lust may go down, but pride may go up. Or at least we may feel, because in some ways we may feel that as this sexual attraction, it is always there, but with age it decreases. With the passage of life, it generally decreases. It is not that much of a constant raging, tormenting influence as it was in, say, younger years, when pre-Krishna conscious years. But then with respect to pride, because in one sense the culture of bhakti is such that we glorify each other. So, and then we glorify each other and we start expecting glorification. So we feel my pride has gone up. It may happen that some other conditioning, maybe our anger has increased or whatever. Some conditionings have changed, some conditionings have not changed. So if we consider the spiritual journey, there is a direct relationship between our vision and our disposition. Vision is what I see and disposition is what I think about or what I tend to see. So in general, if, like going back to the same point about humility earlier, if my main problem is insecurity or my main problem is ego, and we may have both of these problems at different times. If I have insecurity, then look back to see how far I have come. That there have been changes in my life. How far I have come. And that will give us confidence. That will prevent the insecurity in us. Now, if the problem is ego, then look ahead to see how far I have to go. We read Chaitanya Charitamrita, we read how the kind of ecstasy the saints had, how the kind of dedication the great saints had, how far I have to go. So now if somebody is feeling insecure and they focus on how far I have to go, then what is going to happen? Their insecurity will bury them alive underground. I have to go so far. It's impossible. I'll never be able to go. So what we focus on, it's very much important that we consider what is my need right now. There are two contrasting letters. One devotee has compiled a series of seeming contradictions in Prabhupada's words. And then we have to reconcile them. So there is one devotee who writes a letter to Prabhupada. He says that, Prabhupada, I want to assist you in your glorious mission of saving the whole world. And Prabhupada writes that it is good to save the world, but it's more important to save yourself, save oneself. And another devotee says that, all right, Prabhupada, I am so fallen. I don't know what service I can do for you. And Prabhupada writes to him, I need many fallen souls like you to help me save the world. So the idea is if somebody is flying too high, we need to bring them on the ground. But somebody is already halfway underground, don't push them underground for to get them out. So in scripture, we will see that both visions are there. And Bhishma, for example, in his prayers, he's talking with Yudhishthir. He says, Tathapekanta bhakteshu pashya bhupanukampitam yanme syustajata sakshat krishno darshanamagataha. So he says, Tathapya ekanta bhakteshu. Therefore, ekanta bhakteshu is a one-pointed devotee. Ekanta bhakteshu pashya bhupanukampitam. Just see how much mercy has this Lord shown on me. So, let's recite this verse. Tathapyekanta bhakteshu pashya bhupanukampitam Yanme syunstyajatah sakshat Krishno darshanamagatah. So what does the verse say? Just see, Krishna has himself come to give darshan to me. When yanme syunstyajatah, when I am about to die. And Pashya Bhupanukampitam, just see how merciful the Lord is on me. And why I have been merciful? Why is he merciful? Ekanta Bhakteshu. Prabhupada translates, I have been his unflinching servitor. Now, Ekanta can also mean one-pointed, pure. So how can a devotee claim, I have been a pure devotee, or I am a pure devotee, I am an unflinching devotee? So is that bragging? No, there actually what is happening is he is explaining that a principle to Yudhishthira Maharaj, that because I was unflinching, the Lord is here for me, so you also be unflinching in your service. That although you have a difficult service, you feel guilty that because of your war happened and so many people were killed, but you focus on the fact that the Lord wants to serve you, so don't flinch from that service. So the point is, a devotee may also talk about the positive in their life. And this may seem like self-glorification, but it is not self-glorification. Now Bhishma also, at least from ethical perspective, by remaining silent, relatively silent when Draupadi was being disrobed, or not being very assertive when Krishna came as a peace messenger, we could say that some of his ethical decisions were not that right. And that is also true. He's not denying that. But what is he focusing on? That Krishna is here with me. Despite whatever mistakes I might have made, Krishna is here with me because my heart was in the right place. So the broader point that what we focus on is based on how best we can serve. So our vision is a function of our disposition. And a devotee's disposition always is, I want to serve you, O Lord. So whichever vision encourages us in our service, that is the vision we focus on. So thinking too much, oh, I have so many conditionings. If that starts discouraging us, making us feel hopeless, then look at the conditionings that have decreased. To whatever degree they may have decreased. We see that and we focus on that. There's similarly in Prahlad's prayers also there's an evolution in his prayers. In one prayer he says that, Bahuvya sapatnya iva geha patim lunanti. He says, all my senses are going wild and they're pulling me in different directions. And he says, it's like as a person being pulled by multiple spouses. Yes, being dragged here and there. I am caught like that. But then a few verses later he says that, Naivo dvije paradurattaya vaitaranyas. I have no worry about going out of material existence. Why? Tvadvirya mahamrita magna chitta. I'm absorbed in remembering you. So if we look at the prayers themselves, there is an evolution of thought in his prayers. So when he is first of all started by pointing out how he is so terribly trapped in this material existence, he says, I am ugrajate. I was born to Hiranyakashipu, who is a demon. So I am in a terrible position, O Lord, I need your mercy. But then when he is emphasizing on the transformative power of the mercy of the Lord, he says, ever since I have started glorifying you, I become absorbed in glorifying you, I have no anxiety at all. I feel the material attractions have become insignificant. So this is important that our vision always be a function of our disposition. That what do I focus on? So our disposition should always remain positive, and for that positive disposition, whatever vision is suitable, we turn towards that vision. Let's look at the next paragraph here. Who would like to? Sorry. Cancel here. Who would like to read?
O untiringly loving Lord, let my heart be touched and my soul awakened by the magnitude of your faith in me. Why else would you entrust me with such precious and glorious opportunities? May your faith in me awaken my faith in myself and inspire me to elevate myself, becoming a better instrument in your hands. And when I do something worthwhile, let me not see it as my glory but as yours. For who but you could make so unworthy an instrument worthy?
Yes. Who but you can make such an unworthy instrument worthy? So the idea here is that, here. So at one level, when we are trying to practice bhakti, I may feel I'm not good enough. And that feeling could be humility. But the focus is not so much I am good and not good enough. It is God is good enough. God is good enough to make me good enough. So if I am too focused on I am not good enough, and therefore I feel that I cannot serve, that is not healthy. This is where I'll make one point about guilt. And see, guilt can come from both ways. From negative that is done and from positive that is not done. So we get angry and yell at someone whom we should not have. That may cause guilt. We may get some desires that have some feelings that we should not be having. That may cause guilt. But it can also come from the positive that is not done. Okay, now I wanted to wake up at this time in the morning. I want to do this much sadhana. I want to do this. So both ways can lead to guilt. And now, guilt itself is a good thing. See, I am here. If here there is the right course of action and here there is the wrong course of action. From our perspective, both may be equally alluring or equally appearing equal in some ways for us. So now guilt should come between me and the wrong course of action. So guilt acts like an inner deterrent. So in one sense, earlier I had talked about the term conscience. That's one of our boundaries. So now conscience is the inner voice. So conscience tells us many things. Within conscience, the negative voice, that is guilt. And within conscience, the positive voice is inspiration, is intuition, we can use different terms for it, but something we feel inspired to do. So basically these are both functions of the inner voice. So within the inner voice of conscience, sometimes we are prompted, don't do this. And sometimes we are prompted, hey, this is a great idea, you should do this. This is a wonderful thing. See, to some extent, in philosophy of human nature or philosophy of human beings, there's a question that do we choose our interests or do our interests choose us? That can we make ourselves interested in some things, or it's just that some interests, some things, they're naturally interesting for us. Do our interests choose us? So to some extent, both are true. There are some interests which do choose us, and some people are just naturally attracted towards music or towards language or towards maths. I think we see this in our children. So it's almost like some interests choose us, and we use that language and say, I got an idea, I got this inspiration. Got means it's coming to me. It's coming to me, that's got. So now some interests we may choose. That means, okay, this is important for me, then I have to develop this interest. So for all of us, when we get inspiration for something, how do we get that inspiration? I was once doing a writing seminar. I told him that I was giving the example that when you write a book, sooner or later for writing the book, you have that inspiration has to come from within. This is what I want to write. So in one sense, if you're going to write a book, nowadays with AI, anybody can write a book. But the point is, at least if you really want to write a book, so what is happening with AI coming up is that now many publishers want to actually do interviews with the authors to see whether you actually know the subject. So of course, they're hiring people for that purpose now. Because like if somebody explains, I read in a PhD thesis, it will defend your PhD thesis. We are grilled with some questions, not that degree, but still the point is that when you write a book, it's almost like you're entering into a long-term relationship with that subject. For the next 6 months, next 1 year, next 5 years, I'm going to immerse myself in the subject. So now, I was giving this example that when writing, some books, projects, they are like love marriages. And some book projects are like arranged marriages. So what that means is, we could apply that metaphor in, even when we are told to speak, sometimes we feel inspired to speak about some topics. So that interest is there, it comes to us. And there are some people, okay, this is the verse, you have to speak on this. Then you have to start thinking, what do I speak on this topic? And generally, a class comes alive when in the topic that is given to us, something that comes from within, that we are able to connect with that. Otherwise, we could just make a class with this point, this example, this point, this point, this point. And now AI can do that better than us. In any class you want, you can just get a series of nice points and connections. But somewhere that point comes from within me. This is where it's come alive for me. That's what is realization, that's what authenticity is. So why am I talking about this is, that there is from within that inner voice, positive also comes. The inner voice is not all negative. Sometimes we get inspiration. Yeah, this is the point I want to speak about. This is the point I love. This is, wow, what an insight. I want the whole world to know this insight. It becomes like that. So the negative part of conscience is guilt. Just as the positive part is important, the negative part is also important. So what guilt should do is, it should stop us from doing wrong things. But sometimes what happens is, guilt gets misplaced and guilt comes here. So that means guilt comes between us and the wrong thing and the right thing. If this happens, we need to see this as pseudo guilt. It is not actual guilt. It is also Maya coming in the form of guilt. That means you are so fallen that you cannot practice bhakti. Now, sometimes within religious organizations, it is a standard strategy to consciously create guilt among followers so that they feel the need for the authority. So we all should feel the need for Krishna. But say by publicly chastising someone, telling that this you did wrong, this you did wrong, this you did wrong, without my guidance you are useless. And then a greater amount of neediness is created. So in the Catholic Church there is this, what is called the infamous Catholic guilt. That they say that everybody is born sinful, and unless you get the redeeming grace of Jesus, you are lost. And you will get the redeeming grace of Jesus only through us. So now creating guilt among people and thereby getting them compliant. That is a standard religious strategy. But you remember we talk about fear, desire, duty and love. 4 ways we can approach God. So Prabhupada never used this strategy. That if you see, Prabhupada does talk in the 5th canto about the various kinds of hellish planets. And there are a few lectures when he talks about hell. But most of Prabhupada's talking, even about giving up sense gratification, is not based on if you do sense gratification, you will go to hell. It is, you are not the body, you are the soul. You are meant for something so much bigger in life. That this is the kind of pleasure even animals are having. Rise to the human potential. Realize your spirituality. So it's a very positive message. It's not a negative message. So, so Prabhupada's presentation was never a guilt-inducing presentation. That now that, you didn't come for this program, you're not wearing this thing. This is what happens is when this guilt comes up, it can lead to a lot of negativity. Different people come to Krishna for different purposes. This is an entirely different class, but I'll quickly mention this over here. That if we consider this is Krishna, say different people come for different purposes to Krishna. So some people may come from a social sense. Social means that they want a sense of community. They want a sense of belonging. They want a sense of acceptance. Some people may come from a philosophical perspective. They want answers to questions. They want wisdom. But say, majority of people come because modern society is so lonely. That it's like previously we had joint families, then we had nuclear families, now the nucleus is split. And there's protons and neutrons and electrons and just orbiting around. So now what happens is, people are lonely and they want to feel accepted. When somebody comes to a satsang and the first thing somebody asks, why are you not wearing dhoti kurta? Why are you not wearing sari? Why are you wearing your tilak? then people don't feel accepted, they feel judged over there. And everybody in the world is judging me. If I go to a particular place, what brand of clothes are you wearing? Based on that, people judge how wealthy you must be, what kind of car you came in, how fluently do you speak. So if the whole world is judging me, and I come to a satsang and there also I get judged, then why should I come at all? So now some people may actually come for cultural purposes. And for them, this is important. So that's why there are multiple reasons why people come to Krishna. Somebody comes for cultural purposes, then they will very be conscious, okay, this is our culture, this is the way I should dress, this is the way I should come. But not everybody is coming for that purpose. And if we focus, if the way we interact, we are constantly judging people and making people feel judged. Judging is unavoidable to some extent. But if that is the prominent mode of interaction, then that kind of guilt will alienate people away from Krishna. There's one devotee in India. His parents were devotees, and he was just not interested in bhakti at all. And he went to America for his higher studies. He got in New York. He was in New York, and then he went to the Bhakti Center. And there he just blossomed in bhakti. So when I met him, I used to know him from India. He was quite artistic, so he had done some service for me for some of my books layout. So when I met him in America, I asked him, what inspired you to take up, his parents were very happy, what inspired you to take up bhakti in America? So he says, in India, whenever I would go to a temple, the first thing people would ask me is, how many rounds are you chanting? And are you chanting your rounds? How many rounds are you chanting? He says, when I went to America to the Bhakti Center, I was just welcome. Nobody asked me. He said, I've been coming here for 1 year, at least 2 years now. He says, nobody has till now asked how many rounds are you chanting. He says, I feel just so accepted. I don't feel that I am going to be judged when I come here. So now, is that the only way to present Krishna consciousness? No, but that's an important way. That if now in America there's no family, there's no extended family, so he's alone, and naturally, there is the newness of the Western culture, and the freedom, all that is there. But after some time, we need the familiar also. See, in life, what happens is, if everything is too familiar, we want the novel. But if everything becomes novel, then we want the familiar. Isn't it? Life has to be a balance between familiarity and novelty. So in India, people often take Krishna consciousness lightly because it's too familiar. But in the West, the culture is so different, this has become novel. There's not there so much over here. So the idea is that he needed that sense of community, and if he had gone to a temple where he had been judged, then he would have just given up bhakti completely. So that sense of guilt, we should not be feeling it, and we should not be creating it in others. Because the point is that we want people to connect with Krishna. Yena kena prakarena mana Krishna niveshayet. Nowadays, a lot of young people are coming to our temples. Young people, and say India is in a curious cultural phase that there is openness to spirituality, but there is also openness to sensuality. So that, say for example, young people will come, they will often, boys and girls will come together. And when they come to the temple, it's fascinating. They could go to pubs, they could go to parties, but still they want to come to temple. And then many times they want to take selfies in the temple. And sometimes they want to take selfies with Krishna. So now, this was a question was asked to Radhanath Maharaj in Radha Gopinath temple, that if people want to take selfies with Krishna, with the deities, what should we do? So Maharaj says it's not good that people turn their back to the deities. So he said we should keep a notice prominently that don't take selfies with the Lord. But then the managers asked that if somebody takes a selfie, should we stop them? So Maharaj said no. I said because once you decide to tell people no, you make that a policy, we will not be able to control how people say no. And like some people get great joy in pointing out how others are not following rules. Isn't it? And he said that we want people who come here to get a positive experience. That if they come and they have some devotional sentiment, that's why they want to take a selfie even if it is with the Lord. So if for that they are chastised, then what's going to happen? They will never come again. Now they have many other options where they can go. Even Within spirituality also. So we may say we have Mahaprabhu's mercy and we have this and we have that and we are so special. That's all true, but from their perspective, we are just one item on the menu. No, isn't it? So we are just one item on the menu, and if they don't like it, they'll go to somewhere else. So we have to be careful. So I was telling this in a talk in Delhi, and the temple president from one temple in Delhi came, and he said that he had invited, for the Janmashtami festival, he had invited the local, what is the police commissioner, is the biggest person in the, is it police? IG, Inspector General. No, but the commissioner is above him.
Commissioner of Police is in
Delhi. So anyway, he said like one of the top police officers he had invited. And he had come with several of his guards. For Janmashtami he came. And when he came, this devotee had brought him with him. He went inside to get some special Mahaprasad. He was standing at that time, he wanted to take a selfie. So at that time he turned and started taking a selfie. And the Pujari said, hey, yahan pe selfie nahi lena hai. The Pujari just spoke so harshly. And then he came back. And that police commissioner, he said that, शायद आपके पुजारी साहब को बहुत भूख लगा है. So he took it, he did not take it, so he was not offended literally. But he said after that, I have invited, he has never come to the temple. So now, the Desha Kala Patra is also important. So the point is that the rules are important, but there is a purpose of the rules. So that's why the primary feeling is that if we are trying to share Krishna Bhakti, we cannot be creating guilt among people. We need to be creating a warmth atmosphere by which people have a feeling of positivity in their life. And that positivity towards ourselves and positivity towards others is what is going to attract people towards Krishna. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. Today I was talking about a positive attitude or positive attitude towards the self. Towards the self. So first part I talked about was humility. So humility, two extremes it can go is, we deny our ability and we deny the source of ability. So both are unhealthy. Denying ability will make us insecure. Denying the source of ability will make us egoistic. So in between is that we acknowledge both. We acknowledge our ability, and then that will give us a sense of gratitude. And then we acknowledge the source of our ability. That will give us a sense of gravity. That I have to do something significantly important. Then that it's like a hospital metaphor. That we see that there are problems with the hospital, but the hospital is there to treat, and I have some talents, some abilities by which I can treat. Now then second was about our conditionings. So we all have certain conditionings. And then, so I talked about how we need to be able to look at, if you are feeling down, look behind to feel positive, how far I have come. So this will be how far I have come. That will give us a sense of positivity. And we look ahead to see how far we need to go. So that way it will keep us grounded, keep us humble. So the key principle here is that our vision is a function of our disposition. So if somebody is feeling discouraged, they need encouragement. If somebody is feeling too much high in the sky, they need to be brought on the ground. And then last part, I discussed about our specific practices. That with specific practices, that practices or actions we could say that we do, that guilt should be coming between us and the wrong thing, not between us and the right thing. If guilt is made in such a way that guilt can act as an inner deterrent, that is good. But if guilt comes here in between us and Krishna, then that is bad. So in our outreach also, we want to focus on encouraging people to come. So people, if they feel judged, they will not come. If they feel welcomed, if they feel valued, if they feel accepted, that's when they will keep coming. Now, eventually, judging also has to happen. But the focus needs to be on much more on giving people a sense of acceptance. So that way, we can make sure that they can come being closer to Krishna. So we have a positive vision of ourselves and we have a positive vision of others. So Krishna has entrusted us with the opportunity to serve. So if Krishna trusts me, then I should trust myself. If Krishna sees some value in me, that's how I've been given this opportunity. So I see that value in myself and I keep moving ahead in my life. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yes, ma'am. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a question, Prabhuji. This is regarding the outreach. Prabhupada had such a wide vision and he was so much depending on Krishna and beautifully explained all the things. Now, when it comes to preaching in a little different way than like ISKCON given way. For example, one of the great leaders in ISKCON, he started something called Krishna West, right, on the other side of the world. And when he told that, it has to be presented in a way that today's audience can accept it, both externally presenting and internally presenting. Like, I'll wear jeans and t-shirt and I'll give a class. Or I'll just come in a blazer and I'll take you on a yatra. For them, that it matters. You can just come out of it. But it is seen very radical by the other side of ISKCON. So my question is, Prabhu, when we get this kind of ideas, accepting it, how important it is that others accept it, and how important it is that I should make others accept, and how important it is that I just don't ignore others also.
Yeah.
What is the balance?
Okay. So, I won't go into the specifics of the Krishna West part because that will require elaborate explanation. We can talk separately. But broadly, the question is, in one sense, a fundamental question that is Krishna transcendental to cultural? Is Krishna transcendental to culture? Or is Krishna, you could say, accessible through culture? That means you could say that there are different cultures in the world. So say here there is Indian culture. And then you can have American culture, you can have Japanese culture. Many of the European countries have their own cultures. So there are basically two fundamental visions. So vision one is that wherever you are, you have to come here, and from Indian culture there's a pathway to Krishna. So from wherever we are, we come to a particular place, and from here we access Krishna. That is one vision. The other vision is that from wherever we are, we can access Krishna. So broadly speaking, these two visions are conflicting right now in our moment. So let's take some issues. So which is the right vision? So there are broadly 4 issues within that. One is, say, dress. Second is food. Third is language. Fourth is probably the most controversial, gender roles. So now if we consider, let's start with food. In some ways, Prabhupada taught his Western devotees the art of Indian cooking. Now, Prabhupada taught that, and Prabhupada generally ate Indian food. But overall, the way ISKCON is now, that with respect to food, it is all kinds of foods can be offered to Krishna. It's like Krishna is transcendental to culture. That means Krishna can be made offerings through all cultures. So in many ways, instead of, you could say, like Indian culture going to the West through ISKCON, Indian cuisines going to the West through ISKCON, often Western cuisines have come to India through ISKCON. Isn't it? So I came to know what was the chow mein after I became a brahmachari. So now, so with respect to food, more or less the verdict is that all kinds of foods can be offered to Krishna. In Govindas, that's the attraction, that we have Chinese cuisine and this cuisine and that cuisine many times. Now with respect to language, that means that there can be 3 degrees of it. The language of the classes during Prabhupada's time, they are all different languages, local languages, and we also had that. So now the language which is used for worship. So there was a leader in ISKCON at one particular time. He said that the bhava, the emotion comes only when bhakti is expressed in local language. And that's why he said, now that is historical also, there's truth of that it is, bhakti has always been a vernacular thing. Valmiki Ramayana is highly respected, but whether it is Ramcharitmanas or Kamba Ramayana, these are being much more widely read. So people are able to connect more. So there was a phase in ISKCON history when the whole, at least under this particular leader, the Mangalarti was sung in local languages. So all our kirtans, so instead of Bengali Vaishnava bhajans, we would have them translated to Hindi, and they will sing in Hindi, they will sing in Marathi, they will sing in English. And so now that particular leader had a lot of problems and he left the movement, and then that experiment has been more or less stopped. So let's call this as terms as, this is culture specific and culture transcendent. So that Krishna consciousness is culture specific or culture transcendent. So what has happened is, with respect to food, we can say more or less, the debate, the way it has gone is, it is culture transcendent. With respect to dress, it has become culture specific. Now, sorry, it's not with respect to food, with respect to dress. Sorry, with respect to language, we accept that at least the language of liturgy means the language of worship, has to be culture specific. So there was a time when this particular spiritual master also gave like Western names while initiating people. So there were 3 devotee sisters, they got the name, what I told you? Like Lily, Jasmine and Daffodil. That were their initiated names. So now actually Christians are doing that in India. That earlier when somebody would become a Christian, they would get like Western names, Joseph and all that. But now they don't do that. They say that, so Christianity is very proud of being culture transcendent. And they say that is the reason why Christianity is spread across the world. Now within Islam, they are much more culture specific. Not all branches of Islam, but okay, women have to dress in a particular way. Now men don't follow that dress so much, but men also have to follow certain rules. So now, where does Krishna consciousness fall in this case? So with respect to language, more or less, we say we are culture specific, at least in terms of our liturgy. Everybody is given names which are spiritual names. So now, of course, every devotee is doing Western outreach. They all have to adjust their names, because nobody just gets our name at all. So Shaman Prabhu and I, we were traveling with a group of Western people, and they just Shamananda and Chaitanya Charan. They would just not get our names. So they would call us as short monk and tall monk. Shaman Prabhu is a bit taller than me. So then eventually Shaman Prabhu started introducing himself as Sham. Then I introduced myself as Chaitanya. But in Chaitanya is very difficult. It was a twist for that. So one girl, she finally, Chaitanya, she said. Oh, I said, oh, how did you get the name? He said, I thought of Tanya taking chai. So I said, this is like a massacre of Sandhi, Sandhi Vigrah. So now in Western outreach, I introduce myself as Charan. It's a straightforward name. So almost everybody is doing Western outreach. The connection begins with the name. And the name itself is very difficult to pronounce for people. So everybody adapts their names. So So I was talking with one spiritual master and he was saying, now when I have to give names in America, I have to think how they are going to shorten the name. And the shortening should also be acceptable. That they give names accordingly. There's one devotee in America, in Australia, his name is Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman Das. So devotees, Western devotees call him Sita Prabhu. And they're at least called Sita Ram, you know. So with this language, we are still quite culture specific, at least with respect to the worship of liturgy and other things. So now, with respect to dress. Now, in many ways, Prabhupada did emphasize the dress. And Prabhupada expressed often pride that devotees are dressed in dhoti kurta, they look like Vaikuntha people. Now, there are a number of letters of Prabhupada where he does say that dress is external. And when the devotees said that if they go for book distribution and in the West, and the book distribution will decrease if we start wearing devotee dress because it's becoming inaccessible for people. Then Prabhupada says that you can wear respectable civil clothes also. So you could say with respect to dress, it's probably like it's transcendental as well as specific. So here how it has become is, we transcend the dress for outreach. And the specific is the dress for our own practice. So in the morning program, we come in a particular dress. So in our in-house, internal place, we have our specific dress. And when I first went to America, I saw even Western sannyasi disciples of Prabhupada wearing shirt pant. I was a little taken aback by that. So they said that, this is the dress I am comfortable in. So for the morning program, they wear saffron. Not everybody. I saw 2-3 of them like that. And he said, this is just a natural dress for me. So now, how much should we insist on that? There's some debate about this. So now, with respect to gender roles, I think that's probably the most polarizing at this point. And it's not just a polarizing with respect to ISKCON. I think that's one of the defining differences between the first world and third world. So, and then we have ISKCON in India. India is not exactly in the third world, but a significant part of India is affected by third world values. And the first world is, there's gender equality. It's not exactly an absolute value, but it's an important value. So, functionally speaking, we have Vaishnavis doing most of the services that Prabhus do, but some services they don't do, and to what extent they should be doing, they should not be doing. Some people say this is Western feminist influence coming in India, but then others say during Prabhupada's times, Prabhupada himself engaged everybody in other various services. So then, this is a debated question. So I won't get into the specifics of that, but the point is that when, regarding the specific question, when we come up with, we recognize that there is something specific needed for outreach. So now in the West, it is natural that people will find our dress a bit weird. So there's also a big difference. Some devotees say that Dalai Lama still wears a traditional dress, and that is true. So for monks, it's important to have a traditional dress, but for householders, their dress can be more normal. That's the attitude. That people should feel that I have to become like this. There is a huge cultural distance that they have to travel. And are they ready to do that? So cultural curiosity is very high. Indradhanush Maharaj does this Festival of India, and tell me the most popular stall, one of the most popular stalls apart from the food stall, is the sari and the gopi dot stalls. So many Western women come there and they want to try out wearing a sari. But trying out is one thing. They will take a selfie and they will show it. But wearing a sari every day is another thing. That they don't want to do at all. So what happens in ISKCON, the distance between cultural curiosity and cultural commitment, not just commitment, compliance, that is very less. Somebody says, somebody joins us on the kirtan and the streets. Say, I had such a great time. Come tomorrow morning at 4:30 and come every day at 4:30. It becomes like that. So the challenge, I would say, this is because I'll just conclude this answer now, that different devotees will recognize different needs. That cultural adaptation was required not just in the West, it was required in India also. Our devotees are doing tribal outreach. And when they were doing tribal outreach, basically they went to the tribals And then they got all of them to wear dhoti kurta and sari and start practicing bhakti the ISKCON way. And then the local politicians, they complained, they said that, if they become Christians, they give up their tribal culture. And if they become Hare Krishna, they give up their tribal culture. So how are you any better? So now in tribal culture, tribal outreach, so earlier they used tribal preaching, they had the term tribal preaching, then they had tribal outreach. Now initially they call it tribal care, not even outreach. And there they encourage them to practice bhakti with the local tribal dress. So now, I asked the devotees in charge of tribal care that eventually when you build a temple, and if you have altars, so on the altar would you have devotees wearing dhoti kurta and saris, or they will go in the tribal outreach, tribal dress? So he said that is something which when we come to that bridge, we'll cross it. But I think ISKCON will expect that on the altar we have a particular cultural dress code, which is reasonable enough. So, okay, so now coming to specific, this can vary in many different ways. Culture is one function, but how much is Krishna consciousness specific to particular pathways? And what are the different pathways in which Krishna consciousness can be done? So, different devotees, like an earlier point I was making, that if this is Krishna, then some people come from the cultural pathway. Like say some Indians, they may come because, especially in the West, even in India, this is our culture and this is being continued. Some people come from the philosophical pathway. Some people come from the social pathway. Some people come from the psychological pathway. There are only the 4 pathways, but broadly 4. So for example, people who come from psychological pathway, they want peace of mind. And when they come for kirtans, they would like very peaceful kirtans, gentle kirtans. See, our kirtans are not gentle, they are ecstatic. And so Radhanath Maharaj, when he started this Shayant Kirtan, he would be deliberately say, slow down the mridanga, soften the tune. And people are attracted to that. So many times for that kirtan is more like a concert that they participate in, that they go and attend. And people pay a lot for that. So I was in Scotland, the devotee said that we have created 2 categories. One is Harinam and other is Kirtan. So they say Harinam is for devotees and Kirtan is for new people. So Harinam is ecstatic, Kirtan is gentle. So they have created category like that. So my point is Kirtan only. So people who come from a cultural pathway, people who come from a psychological pathway, there are different needs. And we try to cater to those needs. So I think the way it works is, the way Prabhupada made ISKCON also, he made each center to be largely autonomous. So that the leader can see what is the need over there and adapt accordingly. So the problem mainly comes when instead of doing what we think is needful for our particular place, we start criticizing what others are doing. We said, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And that's when people start becoming defensive aggressive. And ultimately everybody will say, this is what Prabhupada did, and are you criticizing Prabhupada for that? Who do you think you are? But Prabhupada was very multifaceted in his approach. So the same Prabhupada with Allen Ginsberg, when Allen Ginsberg asked him about some other guru, Prabhupada just said he's a foolish monk, he did not know anything. And when George Harrison asked Prabhupada about different gurus, Prabhupada just took some point from their teachings which was relevant and continued this Krishna conscious message. Prabhupada did not comment on those gurus. So my point is that Prabhupada used different approaches. So as devotees, can we use different approaches? I think we can. Do we need to make a case to defend before the devotee community? It depends. What we should not do is criticize the existing model. They say this is a particular demographic, it needs a particular way of presentation, and that's what I'm trying to do. And eventually, time will tell. That if the model works, the people will see it, people will adopt it. If the model doesn't work, then it's a problem. So when, say now youth outreach has become very big, we have youth centers. So when the youth outreach started, at that time there was criticism, how dare you shorten the morning program? Who do you think you are? Prabhupada has given the morning program. How dare you shorten it? But then, those who are college students, you can't expect them to attend the morning program of the same length as, say, brahmacharis attend in the temple residence. So they shortened it and it's worked. So now that criticism has more or less disappeared. So I think without criticizing anyone else, if we do something on our own for serving the needs that we observe, right now I think our movement has become much broader, and unless we criticize someone else, generally most people don't get on the case of someone for doing a particular thing. Okay?
Prabhuji, just one extension of the question is that you told how we have to, how we can change and at the same time, follow and not criticize others. Now my question is, say I'm in ISKCON for some time, I'm going to one other person's satsang. Somebody is called me. I've never been there. First time I'm going there. Now as soon as I go, my judgmental eyes start. Okay, how many people are senior here? How many people are junior here? How many people are new people here? And immediately my calculation starts. How many people are wearing dhoti? How many people are wearing tilak? How many people are wearing? So then the whole mood is set. That okay, so this is a very serious satsang, or this is a very casual satsang, or this is very naive satsang. I don't know. I keep putting all those things, and then I go and sit there and I maintain that impression. And after 4 or 5 months or some interaction with those devotees, I realized, all my judgments were wrong. So the help that I need from you, if it's possible, is what is the vision I should keep when I go to any satsang so that I don't make such mistakes?
Yes, thank you. It's a very important question. So when we go to any other place and we start judging them, how many people wear dhoti kurta, what is what, and then that's how we may later on realize that our judgment, we think this is not a very serious satsang, but it may turn out to be serious. So see, whenever we approach any situation, there is always a combination of judgment and curiosity. So what happens is, now how much should be the percentage of judgment, how much should be the percentage of curiosity? Now there are some personality types analysis. Myers-Briggs did a famous analysis. So he says that some people are by nature more go towards judgment. So when they go to a particular place, they focus on what is right, what is wrong. That's just the way their mind works. And some people, they focus on what is. Not what is right or wrong, what is. Okay, what is there? That's curiosity. So some people naturally naturally oriented towards judgment, some people naturally oriented towards curiosity. However, for us, we need a combination of both. So now if what happens is, if we have only judgment, then what is that? Two things problems can be. We will be imposing our ideas on them, and there will be no learning for us. Maybe they are doing something different and there's something good about it. There's no learning for us. On the other hand, if there is only curiosity and no judgment at all. Okay, curiosity means, okay, even though I am giving a class, I am here to learn about these people. So one of my favorite prayers, which I try to at least mentally repeat, I try to do it before every class, but at least I try to do it when I'm giving to very new audiences. My dear Lord, help me to learn how to help others to learn. So help me to learn how to help others to learn. So it's like, I got this prayer, I was staying at one devotee's home, and that devotee's child has got autism. So they, now normally parents want to teach subjects to their children at home initially, and then the school will teach them. So that mother was telling me that actually, it's not that the child with autism is dumb, but I have to learn how my child learns, and then I can teach my child. So I found that a very striking example, that in different places, I have to learn how to help others to learn. So curiosity is important. But if if we have only curiosity, then we will just go towards all relativism. That I am going here, and even if something is wrong, I don't even point it out, and people don't even come to know about it. So if I'm not pointed out in the class, but I talk with the leader, I'll talk with the GBC if I see something seriously wrong. So after all, then it will just become relativism, then I'm not really representing or serving my tradition. All relativism, no service to tradition. So I'm just going there to see what is happening. because I am supposed there to teach also. So now that the balance between the two of these is that we see what is, and we also see what is right and wrong. So if our natural vision is to see in terms of what is right and wrong, then we need to focus on building curiosity. If our natural vision is towards curiosity, then we need to focus on judging. So I think both are required. In the Mahabharata, there's a description, Bhagavatam also description is there that when the queens of when Krishna came to meet the Pandavas in the forest, at that time Krishna brought his queens also, because he wanted to pacify Draupadi also, and Draupadi could get some female company. So at that time the queens asked Draupadi, that is, how do you keep 5 husbands satisfied? How do you manage that? What all do you do? So the thing is, at that time, so it's they're learning that one set of devotees are learning from another devotee. How do you serve? So that is curiosity and openness. So I think both are required, and in ISKCON, to some extent, judging is emphasized more than curiosity. See, Athato Brahma Jigyasa, it is not just a shloka to speak to new people. That Brahma Jigyasa is a lifelong thing. As how is Krishna acting over here? How is Krishna manifesting in this person's heart and this person's life? So that Brahma Jigyasa, we are not just here to judge. We are here to also learn. We are not just here to teach what is right and wrong. We are also here to learn what is right and wrong. Learn, okay, what is the right way of doing things here? What is the right way of doing things there? Am I answering your question?
Yes.
Thank you.
So, I know it's time, it's by 9:50, but I'd like to ask one last clarification. It is very important because I kind of interact with a lot of people. Once I was in Mayapur for one festival, and very famous Kirtaniya, names apart, that Mataji does amazing Kirtan. She's a little elderly. So now everybody, we enjoyed the Kirtan, all that is nice and great. Kirtan Mela basically was there. And then me and my wife when the festival is done, we were coming back to Hyderabad, went to the airport. And suddenly I saw that very same Mataji in a dress which is so inappropriate. Forget about even being, open to any kind of dress. It was not a dress that you should wear even. That dress can be worn even in a public place. Now I just asked her, what is going on? She said, none of your business. Just go ahead. And I said, am I sure it's the same lady or then I started doing pradakshina to make sure it's the same person. So then I felt our behavior as devotees, there is a comment and a question. Our behavior as devotees, we can't take an extreme end also. Where we bewilder the people in the name of being open or in the name of being accepted in society. After coming to Krishna consciousness, there has to be some things which are, if not very close to our way of living inside the satsang, but it should not be too far away also. From what we are, what we are representing. Like I'm going and doing and playing Holi, playing cinema songs and touching everybody around and doing that is completely outside. And I'm playing Holi, playing a kirtan is completely inside. But there is always a big question mark. How do you see, how do you not see? So this is my small comment. So you can please help me conclude.
So, sometimes as devotee we portray us, we are seen in a particular way. Like some kirtan here might be beautiful kirtans, but then later at airport they are dressed in a very different way, which may not be appropriate at all for a bhakta, a devotee. Let's say 3 different things over here. First is, certainly it is true that if a huge level of difference is there between how we conduct ourselves privately and how we conduct ourselves publicly, this is not private at an airport, but it's not public in the devotee community, then that is going to be jarring. That is going to create significant problems. So what would that mean? So it's like that if I am practicing bhakti, sorry, how should I put it over here? See, the journey of bhakti if Krishna is here, I am building a bond towards Krishna. But every relationship is not just about a bond, it's also about a boundary. Isn't it? Like if a couple get married, now their relationship is about how they relate with each other. But if a man and a woman are married, then how the man deals with other women, how the woman deals with other men. There's a boundary to that also. So every relationship has a bond side and a boundary side. So now the complexity of relationships is such that both the way the bond is expressed and way the boundaries are expressed, there can be variability in that. Now, can there be unlimited variability in that? No. It's like if somebody says my bond with my partner is that I beat them up. Well, no, sometimes an affection or something it might be there, but in general, the bond, there is particular ways in which the bond has to come. And there are particular ways in which the boundary has to come. So there will be a range of boundaries that might be there. But still, some boundaries have to be there. So, when I had gone to Australia, I was talking with one devotee who was a prominent preacher over there. And while he was talking with me, and there was one Mataji who passed by. And clearly she was pregnant. And she was wearing a sari, so her midriff was visible. So while just talking with her, he just flipped his hand. So how's the baby doing? He touched her midriff. How's the baby doing? She's nice, thanks for asking. And she walked away. So I was taken aback. So then afterwards, he saw that I was disturbed. I asked him. And he said, she's just like my sister. I said, okay, even if she's like a sister, you won't touch like that, at least in India. But later I talked about is that they said that, it depends on the cultural context. How is she feeling? Is she feeling violated or is she feeling cared? So now we may say that, is it all subjective? It's not all subjective. But it's still not like complete 100% objective. So, in the West, on almost all Western outreach programs, men and women, there's no separation in how they sit. Now, I found it a little jarring initially, but then I was talking with one devotee. He said, my girlfriend brought me to a temple for the first time. But then he said that I came to the temple and then she sat in one corner and I sat in another corner. And throughout the program, I couldn't understand what was happening. The speaker had a heavy accent and I told her I'm never going to come again. And then they went to a Western outreach program and where they didn't have those rules. Then he felt much more comfortable over there. So now in churches, at least in the West, I don't know how it is in Indian churches, but churches, the whole point is going to a church is like a family occasion. So the whole family sits together. Husband, wife, maybe parents, children, sisters, brothers, all of them. So there's a different approach, a different culture. When Prabhupada got the LA property, Prabhupada said that, the LA property was originally a church. And then he said that keep this as it is and let people come in with their shoes on. And let this be the place for the discourse and have the deities elsewhere. That's how they did initially, but then the other place was not big enough for the deities. Then we moved to Temple Hall. So Prabhupada was quite broad about these things. So the point I'm making is that there is a room and there is a necessity for cultural boundaries. For the variability of cultural boundaries. And there are many boundaries. Yeah. So many boundaries will be variable. And if we impose inflexible boundaries, then we will lose a lot of people. So now, when we say cultural boundaries are variable, how far are they variable? One devotee was telling me, he is from a South Indian Brahmin family. Told me he had gone for a Sri Vaishnava Satsang program. And he said when they go for a Satsang program, so if the Matajis are not dressed in a traditional way, then they cannot even go in front of the speaker. The speaker should not be able to see them also. And then what they do is that they have some wherever the speaker is going to come, especially sannyasi speaker is going to come, they ensure that there they keep some clothes. So if some woman is coming in some other kind of dress, you put a sari and you come in and then you come in front of the speaker. They said that in ISKCON we can't impose that. We are reaching out to a much larger number of people. And then that kind of satsang, people who already appreciate that tradition, only they come. Others will not come for that tradition. So we cannot have we cannot have inflexible boundaries. Now, how far can the boundaries go? See, the dress it's not as black and white as we think. When I had first gone to Mayapur, not first, second, third time, I saw even devotee kids, devotee daughters, not wearing very appropriate clothes. So I was very judgmental at that time. But then I talked with one senior Prabhupada disciple, Mataji, very intelligent Mataji. So she told me that it's like there is a need, and the need has to be addressed. So basically what happens is, men, their sense of strength is physical. So for women, their sense of strength comes from their beauty. So nature has given men one physical gift, that is power. Nature has given women another physical gift, that is the beauty. So now the idea is that the traditional culture was that a woman should exhibit her beauty or dress very beautifully in front of her husband and not for anyone else. And a man may have power. They can overpower others, but the power should be used for protecting, not exploiting. So both, that the power of physical strength and the power of beauty, both of these need to be regulated. Both of these need to be regulated. But, so what this Prabhupada disciple Mataji was telling me that it is currently in ISKCON. I'm not saying this is the case over here, but it's just understanding. Currently in ISKCON, he said that for these devotee girls, there is no system by which they can get married. They can get married. That they will find a partner. That especially for in the Western world, there is no such thing as arranged marriages. And then even the devotee community, there is no arrangement. So if there is no system for arranging things, then they have to make their own arrangement. And if they have to make their own arrangement, that means they will leverage the power nature has given them. If they don't leverage the power, then how are they going to attract a partner? Now we may say one should not be wearing that kind of clothes. What kind of person are you going to attract by that? But the male gaze is naturally going to look at physical beauty. So, or physical appearance at least. So then what happens is that it's a situation which is a difficult situation. And there is a particular need if that is not addressed. If there is hunger and you don't provide food, and then you tell people, why are you robbing? Well, I have hunger and you not provided food, what am I going to do? I need food. So I think the reason women dress in particular ways is broadly three things. One is that is what gives them a sense of power. Now, like what Prabhupada said was, this one devotee in America he's a marriage psychologist, marriage sociologist, what do you call it? Psychologist, marriage counselor. But he's studied psychology, from that perspective has come. So he said, like Prabhupada said, a woman should dress herself beautifully for her husband. But he said the way the modern mind works is that a man stops valuing his wife after some time. But only when, say, they go to some social event and the woman is dressed so beautifully that other men start looking at her with desire, then the mind feels, oh, my wife is so beautiful. And it's like, to the extent that the wife can trigger envy in other men, to that extent the man will value her. Yeah, so it's like that. No, it's not just neighbor's envy. It's only when there is neighbor's envy, then there will be owner's friend. So now, that's one reason. Again, I don't want to make gender stereotypes too much. But if you see Western women, it's very difficult to discern their age. It's like, somebody might be 45, 50 and still they look like 30. Western women, in they may 45, 50 and they still look like, they might look like 30, 35. I was in Australia, I had gone for a program. And after that program, because it was a college program, then Mataji was announcing. And then she was very smart, well-spoken, Western Mataji. So then I asked her, are you a student in this college? She became so happy. Said, you made my day today. So then, she was actually the wife of the person who organized the program. She had 2 daughters. So the point is that in India, marriage is somewhat stable. In the West, it is like women, they're always insecure that husband may abandon them. So it's like they maintain the physical beauty and physical appearance that in case I have to pursue any other relationship in the future. So then that's why that concept of chastity, it's like that is a very different culture over there. So I think now why would devotees do this? We can say that, but what happens is devotees may also have their insecurities. Devotees may also have their own dynamics going on in their life. So I would say that a devotee should not be doing this. But if a devotee is doing this, then we have to, at least in particular cultural communities, they should not be doing it. So it's I was going to say 3 points. The first point I said is that there has to be a social arrangement, otherwise they'll naturally leverage that power, the power of beauty. Second is that even if they're in a healthy relationship, there's a fear that I may lose the relationship. And that's why there's a huge effort to do that. And third is, sometimes it's just a matter of wanting to express my autonomy. That, so it is like patriarchal culture is there, and you are telling me how I should dress. It's my body and it's my life. So sometimes that phase comes up, and people wear particular dresses for particular reasons. So I think the third, it should not be going on, especially it is in teenage and young adulthood, that might come for some time. Then that coming in an elderly, a little older person is not so appropriate. So, it's like your rebellious phase, if it's that, if your rebellious phase is when you're 40, 45, 50, what are you rebelling against, isn't it? So, I would say that is not appropriate, but these are my broad thoughts about it. Okay.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So, first of all, thank you to all the audience here. Some of you have come for all the classes. And everybody who have come for all the classes, just lift your hands, so that's amazing. So many. Every time I organize this, don't think I'm praising anything about myself, but I like hearing a lot. And it's my biggest craving to hear. And Prabhuji is my superhero, from my early Krishna consciousness days. My dream to sit in front of Prabhuji and hear. And I hear so many, a lot of our SSR classes. If you really go back and hear Prabhuji's classes in 90s and 2000s, you'll see so many points coming out of there. They used to make notes and add them. Now you know how the presentations have become. So many points in each slide. So it's a dream for me. So it's my own personal greed that I want to hear and serve such devotees. So I invite them here. But you all are equally showing that same greed, and I'm very proud to be part of this community. When I see devotees who are so greedy to hear, allow you to hear, and hearing changes, right? I was hearing Prabhupada lecture, he said, just give your 2 ears and everything will happen. Right? Attentively give it. So whoever could not come, in person, that's okay, but at least if you are hearing it online, when the facility is there, and whoever can come online, can come physically, also come here. Coming here at 8 o'clock is not a joke, with so many complicated life that we are leading right now, so many obligations in the morning. Mothers especially, making sure you cook, you do everything at your rounds. Or maybe some of these days the rounds are going to go throughout the day. That's what will happen, because if you don't finish in the morning. But the great sacrifice, everybody has made, including Prabhuji's, you have to book a conference room in the office not to finish your rounds. Whatever you have to do. But this sacrifice is being seen by Sri Krishna. This sacrifice is being seen by Srila Prabhupada. And this sacrifice is the mark that we are sincere and we are actually wanting to go back to Krishna. So thank you for exhibiting it as an inspiration. All of you don't think that you're just coming in and sitting, you're actually inspiring 100 other people who want this kind of inspiration. So we will continue to conduct similar sessions. I always recommend, why are you organizing during weekdays? I only say that I'm only organizing for that one person who wants to come in here. So that's enough. Don't need 80 people, 100 people, 1,000 people. Even for that one person. And along with me, I want to be serious on that, somebody else, right? So, and I really am grateful to Prabhuji that you have extended yourself every morning. And we really look forward for this kind of series, Prabhuji, it really helps. Now, next time when I hear Srila Prabhupada's these prayers that he wrote, I remember all these things of how he was looking at the audience and what kind of compassion he was showing towards the audience as a service to his guru. Because we only hear, I'm doing this for my guru, but what kind of compassion, the underlying foundation that you brought out in the last 4 classes is really appreciable. And I think it's a must hear for all the preachers. Everybody who wants to share outreach should hear and take this book. If some of you have not taken this book, you can still take it. There are only 2 left. And if you want to gift it to some other devotee in some other part of the world who is also preaching, you can also ask her to do it. And there are Ramayana books. There are more than 70 books available right now. So what I'm planning to do, I'm going to take 5 books today, because there is somebody in the office whose birthday is their anniversary, that I don't know what to give. So for 200 rupees, what kind of better gift can I buy than Ramayana, right? And that too in Telugu. So why don't we all just pick up and empty the box so that Prabhuji is not going back with some other set of books. Whatever that you can take, it's the best way to have some stock. Recently me and my wife are taking stock of all books in the house. We realized we have duplicate 100 books. Because she also bought, I also bought. No, we created another rack that now it's very easy for us to gift anybody. We know where that. Just go pick up the best book from the rack and just give it. So then I realized that actually we need to have this kind of books in the house, because you can't just go and create a gift, and especially you can get it signed also. People appreciate signed book, and this is a very good way of doing it. So there are those books, and there is another book that Prabhuji has written. It's about his always Ranaswami Maharaj, but it's about a journey of a saint. There are many sannyasis in ISKCON. Everybody has a glorious journey. Even those books are available. Some of you could not come to the abbots for the class. It's specifically for Mara disciples, but if you want to know, especially for people who are aspiring or already initiated with Mara, this is an opportunity. Prabhuji is here, you can take a signature and take it. And also for others, some of you God brothers who have not come, and others who want to understand the journey, you can still take it. Prabhuji is here. So all the books are there. Why don't we just take as many, because today is the last class here in this trip of Prabhuji, and the last class is today evening in another place. So whoever can come to my home Ankura, Villa 473, please come. So, and that will be the last class on Ramayana. Yesterday's class was mind-blowing on Ramayana, and today, it will be, I'm sure, a lot more things to learn. So thank you. Let us thank Prabhuji with 3 loud and enthusiastic, heartfelt Haribols.
I also second what Leon Pro said. And then we reach multi-crore temples. They may not have 30-40 people coming daily for a Bhagavatam class. So, and especially if the temple residence is easy to come, not temple residence is not easy. So I think all of you have a extraordinary level of interest and seriousness in Krishna consciousness. And my classes also, what I was taking was not really katha kind of thing. So it is not relaxing hearing. So it is educating hearing, but it is also taxing hearing a bit of practice. So I appreciate all of you coming here, and I pray that Krishna keeps blessing you with more and more both wisdom and taste for wisdom, so that you can relish it and you can share it with others. Hare Krishna.
Take the books and then take the shot.